Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. Most abortion drug sellers are flouting a federal rule that protects women from complications from chemical abortions. That's according to a recent report from the Charlotte Lozier Institute. Michael New joins us with more. Dr. Michael New, Assistant Professor of Social Research at the Busch School of Business at the Catholic University of America. He's also a Senior Associate Scholar at the Charlotte Lozier Institute. Michael, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
Tell us about this particular rule that's being flouted by all of these organizations that are pushing forth the ubiquitous availability of mifepristone and the like.
Yeah, I'm reminded of the old adage, there's insufficient paranoia. No matter how bad things look, sometimes it's worse. And I think the situation with chemical abortion drugs in this country is a lot worse than we even imagine. Lozier Institute did a study looking at how women obtain chemical abortion pills online. And they found there's about 80 places, some brick and mortar, some online, that are regulated by the FDA. And these places are willing to send chemical abortion pills, to women who are past 10 weeks gestation in violation of FDA law. They're willing to send pills out to minors in violation of, state parental involvement laws. So there's a lot of misconduct going on here. What's even worse is that there's a lot of, online places that aren't even under the FDA where women can get chemical abortion pills. They can just order these pills online or through a foreign vendor. And here there's no regulation at all. They'll send pills to women of any gestational age. They don't require a prescription. They don't require consultation with a healthcare professional. There's no age limit. There's often not a phone number to call if there's a complication. So it is really the Wild West out there. These chemical abortion places are, violating all kinds of rules and causing a lot of public health problems in the process.
Could you please help us understand what is the difference between what is within the formal U.S. healthcare system and those abortion sellers that are outside the formal healthcare system?
Yeah, there are places that, are kind of under the jurisdiction of the FDA. There are places that, brick and mortar abortion facilities that will send chemical abortion pills through the mail. And at least, in theory, they are under the FDA's jurisdiction. Is the FDA enforcing the current rules the way they should? No, but there are, chemical abortions are legal in this country. And, there are places that will send through the mail and are kind of at least regulated in theory by the FDA. There's other places that just aren't. Like if you set up shop in a foreign country, the FDA has no jurisdiction over you. You can send abortion pills from that foreign country in the United States. Some people just set up websites and offer abortion pills through these websites. And, the FDA isn't really making an effort to regulate them. So you have kind of these foreign vendors. You have just freelancers who set up websites and don't bother to comply with FDA rules. During the first Trump administration, they did try to stop that a little bit. They did send some letters to these people saying you're violating, U.S. law. But sadly, this report shows a lot of these online vendors are still open and tragically still selling these abortion pills to vulnerable women.
The FDA sent abuse letters to at least 28 websites we know of. Has no action been taken?
I wouldn't say no action's been taken, but the Biden administration certainly did not make this a priority. Some have shut down. Some have kind of reopened with slightly different domain names. So, the letters were at least a step in the right direction, but, they didn't do much. By and large, a lot of these places just kept selling abortion pills online. The letters didn't really seem to accomplish a real whole lot.
It really is terrifying that abortion pills can be procured online as easily as purchasing something off of Amazon, like like the Institute spokesperson stated. But
there is, or even with proper, quote unquote proper supervision, even the FDA's own labeling says that roughly 1 in 25 women who obtain a chemical abortion will suffer some kind of adverse event, and those rates are increased dramatically when women do these chemical abortion pills without any kind of medical supervision. And there's a lot of things that can go wrong. If a woman has an ectopic pregnancy and obtains chemical abortion, that could be fatal. If a woman is further along in gestation, she realizes, and obtains a chemical abortion, that can have some very serious negative health consequences. So again, the fact that there's, little to no regulation of these pills is a real cause for concern.
I was going to ask, how are these pills classified that they're being distributed so easily?
That's kind of a problem. I mean, the FDA does, theoretically, regulate them, and those, places that, are operating under FDA guidelines should abide by the regulations. But sadly, the Biden administration and the Trump administration, aren't really prioritizing this the way they should. So again, rules can be put in place to, regulate them. There's a lot that can be done. I mean, we have the Comstock Act, which was passed in the 1870s, that prevents abortifacients, from being sent to the mail. Those laws can be enforced. There's a lot that could be done. I think it's just a real failing of the current presidential administration that very little action is being taken right now.
They're classified as a controlled substance. It's just like you mentioned, they're not being regulated. They're not, and the regulations are not being enforced.
Yeah, correct. That again, if they were enforced, at least parental involvement laws, would be respected and upheld. That there would be at least some way to ensure that women are actually pregnant. There would be some way to ensure that women are within 10 weeks gestation, but that's not happening. Even under those that are FDA approved, our research pretty clearly shows a substantial number of them will send pills out to women after 10 weeks gestation. Some of them don't have any age limit. Many of them will explicitly send to minors, so that is a problem.
It appears to me that the only solution is to reinstate in-person dispensing.
I agree. I think that telehealth was only intended to be a temporary measure during the pandemic. The Biden administration unfortunately continued its unwise policy after the COVID-19 pandemic ended, and we had hopes that the Trump administration would show up and put some limits on chemical abortion pills, but sadly, that has not happened. I mean, they say they're doing the study, but details are very sparse. My observation and the observation of other pro-lifers is the Trump administration just seems to think that putting limits on chemical abortion pills is some kind of a political loser, and if they do take any action, it won't take place until after the midterm exams, or after the midterm elections, I should say. I still think after the semester at CUA.
Yeah.
It's just, but it's unfortunate because women are being hurt, lives are being lost. This is a matter that requires immediate attention, and right now it's just not getting that from the Trump administration.
From the pharmaceutical industry perspective, are we seeing an overt marketing push towards coercing women, or at least heavily influencing women, toward mail-order abortion drugs?
Right. So if you read the study, we have a number of anecdotes about women who were forced to undergo chemical abortions. People may know the story of Rosalie Markozich, who's from Louisiana. She was pregnant, and her partner had a change of feelings about this pregnancy, and she took abortion pills without really knowing it. And there's other stories like that as well. There's situations where boyfriends, husbands don't want their girlfriend, their wife to be pregnant, or these pills in the mail, sneak into their food or drink, and women have abortions that are coerced. And, that's a real problem. I think that that's just tragic, and that's just another reason why we need to stop these telehealth abortions right away.
Are we also seeing cases of abortion drug poisoning that frankly, underreported?
Absolutely. Again, men are often using these drugs on their partners without their knowledge. When you're dealing with drugs that are coming in from other countries, they're completely unregulated. People really don't know, the dosages and the strength of these drugs aren't really being regulated or verified the way they would in the U.S. So there's a ton of problems here.
And like you rightly highlighted, just earlier last week, I believe it was, a Kentucky woman's boyfriend tried to slip her these fetal homicide pills. It is an ugly situation altogether, and we need to keep fighting forward, hopefully for the end of at least mail order and telehealth procurements of these pills. Michael, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
My guest has been Michael New, Assistant Professor of Social Research at the Busch School of Business, Catholic University of America. We've been talking about how abortion drug sellers are violating federal rules designed to protect women from, in this case, chemical abortion pills. I'm Marcus Peter.